Without the sun's proper alignment behind it, a shadow like a human-sized crow wearing a sombrero beckoned to Donald Wessler's doormat and knocked with a fancy flourish. With sarcasm abound, Donald answered the 2 minutes later wearing a French dress shirt and loosened blue tie. Try shave and a haircut at your next visit. May I help you, Houdini? The formal figure crossed his legs, removed his wide-brimmed red top hat, and bowed. Bartholomew Matthias Calistiano at your service. Yeah, well, this ain't Halloween yet. Magic shop and the bottle camper up the street. Do your worst, William Zurst. The worst part about getting old is doing it gracefully. How many more tolls do you feel you must overpay before you see the sparkle of the sea? Even videos belonging to any one person in the moment. Be honest before doing so. After too long, it keeps you in the cesspit of trouble longer and faster. Can trouble not be spelled without you? You tell me, music man. Consider yourself rubber gloves slapped. Ironic that we choose the most easily breakable finger to seal a promise. And you're not exactly earning a Nobel Prize yourself if you know Shakespeare probably had syphilis when he did write King Lear, when the plague closed theaters. We can sing all day on doorstep, or at least until we keep our eyes closed and somehow manage to walk around and locate a vacant tennis court. Better here than Philadelphia. What are you selling? What you ordered, noble sir? A dinner host. You forgot already? Hence, feeling all right? The second fair question asked with Mr. Calistiano, startlingly next to him, between Donald having shaken his head and rubbed his eyes, wax on and wax off, and not remembering opening the screen door, or closing it, or inviting him in. Yeah, a bit of short-term memory loss acting up. Whether or not this man saw clearly through it as a glass held up to toast on a cloudless day. Before someone prognosticated with pride, pour me, will ya? Donald had blinked and found himself perched over the shoulder. Better to go out on a limb of a whim than never at all, Cristiano toasted with a cockeyed wink. Whatever helps you go out with a bang, I'll butter a toast to that. Before inquiring why I graced your particular doorstep, besides dinner, I thought it was getting darker. Donald spat with a hint of dismay. I have a fan bloody rare tabulous veal recipe. I must simply blast your chair off to heaven and T-bone minus 3, 2, too much pouring. My cup runneth over. The crimson wannabe oval swirled circuitously around Donald's wrist and hand as though he had dropped a ring and intended it to propose to a woman, and she choked on a breadstick or was allergic to a fruit-based vinaigrette served on a deathbed of the crisp kind of iceberg that would sink another Titanic replicant before the violin and lights went out. Donald would have to be back at the bar telling Felix in the blue glow of neon about how, quote, she went down on that plate quicker than me when she didn't even get to offer to cover up the check quicker than the ring budget like a heartbeat that possessed the courtesy to stay well behind to get more than a tip. Well, howdy, neighbor. Donald about spring-boinging out of his chair from shock and buckling his knees under the formal stark white cloth, thus causing the wine to bob choppily in his glass. Donald's eyes darted around the room in disoriented splendor, and Mr. Cristiano showed no expression of suspicion whatsoever. This lack of cooperation did not immediately dawn upon him so much as did another particular pair of eyes, not there a moment ago, belonging to, of all things in the depths of the cosmos, even all the gods and planets are named after in once formal Latin betrothed phraseology, could only hint to a combined educated guess. When Latin teaches truth, to a figurine-sized horse. Its black and walnut-colored tail swishing about, its chocolate roan coat shining in the light of the room, and an ordinarily sized row of pearly white chompers grinning. Head pumping up hoof and greeting and bowing its head. In the middle of Donald's left leg, at nearly a perfect setup, proportional trajectory to be thrown out the foyer window like an American football. Weightless yet. Sir, Colt 45 warm blood at your service. 45 is my racing number. Don't wear it out. I need exercise. Donald would have remained speechless if not for the breath-dwindling warp of an invisible dagger in his side, as though he already has gas or an indigestion at the side of his stomach, just above the unbelievable sight. Ah, Montezuma's revenge. Quite. I almost passed on the invite, but I just can't help but continue to be delighted at the usually speechless reaction I know I'll get, but this was a refreshing change. Thank you. What, you're worried about him? Oh, he's fine. Time stopped when you said hello. Donald's breathing rapidly increased, each word out of his horse's mouth, with admittedly too big a vocabulary surpassing a parrot's spelling bee. Sledgehammered another aggravating, searing pulse of white-hot pain, lightning bolting from his stomach, slithering up to his lungs like a contemptuous python. Just to squeeze. What's the matter? Need some exfoliating? Why didn't you say so? I get all the Phillies cheesesteaks. They ride me the rest of the day. This troll of the hay proceeded to clip-clop over to the blazing, burning Pompeii of nerves. Donald had his hand tightly clasped on like a tourniquet. But you can call me Charlie. Nay, I nag, and nag, I nay. I ain't going away for a wheelbarrow hay. As though on cue to match up the number of fingers to the horse's all but basic dentures, Mr. Wessler shrieked a howl that would have curled the hair on the beating bob of his tail, devouring clean through the fingers, as though within the palm lay a pit through the running cherry juice. Charlie, letting up upon chewing on the festering wound like grass itself, might have screamed with the blessed and cursed ability of hearing and feeling and questioning. Now, this was all worth a manifestation? With all the breath he could muster, Donald pleaded. What devil incarnate are you? Why? What's the devil of this foray whispering in thine ear today? Do tell, William. Another familiar voice inquired. What are you doing to me? Think of yourself as my guinea piggy bank for my little experiment testing how much more aggressive the chemo is against the cancer. Eventually, it spreads to where it's not welcome. Actually, I'm even surprised at your endurance to even begin to withstand a monologue before the dark and inescapable abyss grows similarly too gluttonous. Palate. Can't spell it without plate. Mr. Cristiano winked and toasted in an ambiguously maroon wine liquid. And you can't spell dime without die. A man truly knows himself once he's tasted what capsule he finds himself in. Charlie's taunting amplified as easily as Donald's illusion of manipulated, disoriented sense of time between Cristiano's arrival and when the self-mutilation began without so much as a whiff of a frying pan's entice. Donald's breathing became labored, his consciousness bled as if on cue before Cristiano's departure. Mr. Wesley, you made a pact with the Mafia's relatives, and you deliver. The circumstances of how are brought upon through time. Charlie hee-hawed in reaction, as if though more of a mule characteristic, and half stomped on Donald's knee, as if though way of applause. Deliver, hee hee ho ho, delightful. Cristiano did not order silence, or even show that he was aware of the thing. Within the darkened tint of the room's candlelit glow, I slipped your drink of Mickey under the table. Omerta. He winked and held up his own glass again. But what pact? Donald grew disconnected again by the moment. The room swirled above him like his drink. His hand stung. Someone is stumped, hallooed Charlie. Can't he just talk a great white out of a flooded underwater slaughterhouse? Charlie locked his legs as though he could slap a knee. You in Egypt? 'Cause you senile. Charlie's whinnying fading on cue for a clear answer. Kate, your wife, and my cousin, sir. And we brought Kate to the deli. Charlie's lawnmower shrill riff continuing so abruptly once more. Dedicate. Not live-a-Kate, dedicated till dead do you part from Kate. We have promulgated Kate into the comply. Abuse her for squealing about the Mafia you once had prior sworn commitments to, do you? You thought the pot boiling wouldn't turn up the heat beyond mercy, little lobster, or that it wouldn't be boiling when you touched it. I'd given head in your bed, Don. Kate to the deli for the Mafia being big eaters and couldn't spare her ribs to where people meet. To eat people meat. Where there's a can, there's a ball. The knives in Donald's ear splitting like a banana on Sunday night faded. Like a song ending into the dark, inescapable abyss. And pain on his hands and in his gut with it. Fingers strewn about. He realizes. His finger stubs oozing a trace down his forearms like a red line to the end of a map of disgrace. As the two agonies parted ways, his lips and cheek pinked on his pillow plate. In the mirror of his eyes, Cristiano bowed and retrieved the wooden horse figurine that stumbled from the man's knee and departed himself. His sweet, cold revenge of just dessert. On the porch through the ajar window, a crow call greeted the emerald twilight's evening's own docile beckon.